Hey guys, tonight we're traveling to the cradle of civilization itself. We're going to the ancient, sun-baked land of Mesopotamia, to the heart of one of its greatest empires, Babylon. We'll be walking the dusty streets of the magnificent city, under the shadow of its towering ziggurats. But we won't be a king or a high priest. We're going to experience the world from the very bottom of this complex and highly ordered society. We're going to see what it was like to be a slave. This is a story about the loss of freedom in one of the world's first great legalistic societies. A world where your rights, your body, and your very identity could be stripped away by the force of a contract carved into a clay tablet. And let's be honest, you would not have handled Babylonian debt well. You, who might stress about your credit card balance or your student loans, would find their system a bit more personal if you couldn't pay back a loan. They didn't just send you letters or hurt your credit score. They came to your house and repossessed your children, your wife, and you yourself, turning you into a walking, talking asset to work off the debt. It's a very hands-on approach to collections. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support is the lifeblood of this channel, and every single click is a huge encouragement for me to keep creating this content for you. And as is our tradition, I'd love to see where in the world you're settling in from tonight. Please post your city or country and the local time in the comments. It's always a joy to see our community assemble. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your life is one of earth and water. You are a free man, a farmer, and your small plot of land lies a few miles outside the immense, sun-baked brick walls of Babylon. Your world is shaped by the two great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, and your life is dictated by their rhythms. You are a man of some small standing. You have a wife, two small children, and this plot of land that your family has worked for generations. Life is not easy. The sun is a merciless tyrant in the summer months, and the work of maintaining the small irrigation ditches that bring the life-giving river water to your barley fields is endless and backbreaking. But it is your life. Your labor feeds your family. Your decisions are your own. You are poor, but you are free. And then the river, the source of your life, betrays you. One spring, the winter snows in the distant mountains melt too quickly. The great Euphrates swells into a raging, muddy torrent. It overflows its banks, and a brown, churning flood sweeps across your fields, destroying the young barley shoots, washing away the precious topsoil, and leaving behind a layer of useless, stinking silt. Your harvest for the year is completely destroyed. You survived the summer on what little grain you had stored, but as autumn approaches, the reality of your situation becomes clear. You have no grain to pay the tithe to the temple of Marduk, the great god of Babylon. You have no grain to pay the tax to the agents of the king, and you have no seed to plant for the coming year. You are facing starvation. There is only one option. You must take out a loan. You go into the great city of Babylon, a place that has always intimidated you with its towering walls, its noisy, crowded streets, and its great, layered ziggurat reaching towards the heavens. You go to the house of a wealthy merchant, a man known to lend silver and grain to farmers in need. The transaction is a formal, legalistic affair. The merchant, a man in fine linen robes, agrees to lend you a measure of barley for seed and a smaller amount of silver to feed your family through the winter. The terms are steep. The interest rate is high, nearly a third of the loan's value. The terms are all carefully inscribed by a scribe, using a sharp stylus to press wedge-shaped cuneiform characters into a tablet of wet clay. You, being illiterate, cannot read the contract, but you understand its grim meaning. You press the emblem of your small, personal cylinder seal into the clay, your signature, your binding promise to repay the debt after the next harvest. You return home with the borrowed grain and silver. You feel a sense of temporary relief, but also a cold stone of dread in your belly. You have bought your family's survival for one more year, but you have sold yourself into a precarious and dangerous dependency. You work harder than you have ever worked in your life. You repair the irrigation ditches. You prepare the soil. You plant the new seed. You pray to the gods of the harvest. But the gods are not listening. The next year, the rains do not come. A long, scorching drought settles over the land. Your barley sprouts, but it is thin and weak. The harvest is barely enough to feed your own family, let alone repay the merchant's loan with its heavy, accumulated interest. One afternoon, you see a figure approaching your small, mud brick house. It is the merchant, accompanied by two of his household servants. He is not angry. He is not shouting. He is calm, and his calmness is more terrifying than any rage. This is just business. Lynn, he says, using your name. Our contract is due. The harvest is in. I have come for my barley and my silver. Master, you plead, your voice trembling, your head bowed. The drought. The harvest was very poor. I do not have it. I can pay you a part of it. Grant me one more year. I swear on the name of Marduk. The next harvest will be a good one. The merchant shakes his head slowly. The contract does not speak of the drought, he says, his voice still quiet. It speaks only of the debt. You cannot pay, and the law is clear. He holds up another clay tablet. It is your loan contract. He has brought it with him. He then recites the law, a law you know well, a law that every farmer in Babylon fears. It is the law codified by the great King Hammurabi centuries before, a law that is still the foundation of your world. An insolvent debtor, one who cannot pay his creditor, can be seized for servitude. The law states that you, and your family who live under your authority, can be taken to work off the debt. This is a common and accepted practice. It is a form of slavery, but one with legal limits. This is a crucial historical fact of your time. The Great Code of Hammurabi, in its 117th statute, declares that a man seized for a debt, along with his wife and children, shall serve his creditor for 3 years. In the 4th year, their freedom shall be granted. This was a form of protection, a way to prevent widespread debt bondage from becoming permanent. Chattel slavery. But historians of the future will debate the reality of this law. Was the 3-year limit strictly enforced, or did creditors, like the man standing before you, find ways to add new fees, new charges for food and lodging, creating a new debt that could never be repaid, effectively turning a 3-year sentence into a lifetime of servitude? The line between a temporary debt slave and a permanent chattel slave was often perilously thin. For you, in this moment. The academic debate is meaningless. The merchant gestures to his servants. You are my property now, Lynn, he says, his voice devoid of malice. Your wife, your children, you will come with me. You will work in my house for 3 years, as the law provides, and your debt will be paid. Your wife lets out a wail of despair. Your children, not understanding, cling to her legs. The servants step forward. You are powerless. You have no recourse. The law is the law. The contract is the contract. Your life as a free man is over. Your journey into servitude begins. As you are led away from your land, the land of your father and his father, you see another group of people being marched towards the city gates. They are chained together at the neck, their clothes foreign and strange, their faces sullen and defeated. These are prisoners of war, captured in a recent campaign against a rival city-state to the east. Their fate is different from yours. They are chattel slaves. Property for life, they will be sold in the slave market, or put to work on the king's great construction projects, building the very walls of the city that is now your prison. There are many paths to slavery in your world. Some are born into it. the children of slave mothers, owned by a master from their first breath. Some are sold into it by impoverished parents, a desperate act of survival. Some are sentenced to it by a court for a crime. And some, like you, simply had a bad harvest. You and your family are led through the great Ishtar Gate, its bricks gleaming with blue-glazed lions and dragons. You enter the sprawling, magnificent city of Babylon. But you are not here to marvel at its wonders. You are here to serve. You are being led to your master's house. You are no longer a farmer. You are a wardom, a slave. You are led through the magnificent, intimidating streets of Babylon. The sheer scale of the city is overwhelming. The noise and the crowds a stark contrast to the quiet solitude of your farm. But you are not here to be a tourist. You arrive at the home of your new master, the merchant who holds the clay tablet that represents your life. It is a large, two-story house, built around a central, open-air courtyard, a sign of considerable wealth. The great wooden door is opened, and you and your family are ushered inside, into your new life, your new reality. The merchant hands you over, along with your contract, to his wife and his chief steward, a senior slave who runs the household with an iron fist. The steward looks you and your family over, not as people, but as livestock. He assesses your strength, your health, your potential usefulness. He looks at your wife's hands to see if she is skilled at weaving. He looks at your children to see if they are old enough for simple chores. You are inventory. The first act of your new life is one of separation. Your wife and children are led away by a female servant, towards the back of the house where the kitchens and the weaving rooms are located. Your son looks back at you, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. You want to run to him, to tell him everything will be all right, but you are held in place by one of the merchant's servants. A wall of servitude has just been erected between you and your family. You will live under the same roof, but you will no longer be a family in the way you understand it. Your role as a husband and a father has been stripped from you. The second act is the erasure of your identity. The steward asks for your name. Lynn. You say, he grunts. Too many Lynns. He says, here, you will be called It is simple. He has not asked you, he has told you. Your name, the name your father gave you, has been taken away and replaced with a simple, functional label. You are then stripped of your own rough, homespun farmer's clothes. They are not worth keeping. You are given the uniform of a slave, a single. Simple. Sleeveless tunic made of coarse, cheap, undyed wool. It is rough against your skin. It is a garment that marks you as belonging to the household, as being less than the finely robed family members you will serve. But the final, most profound act of transformation is the marking. You are brought into the central courtyard. A stool is placed in the center. You are told to sit. Another slave comes forward, holding a bowl of water and a sharp bronze razor. This is not for a simple shave. This is to give you the abutu, the distinctive hairstyle of a slave. The slave begins to shave a section of your hair, perhaps the forelock, or a specific patch on the side of your head. The razor is sharp, but the process is slow and deeply humiliating. Other household slaves stop their work to watch. Your hair, a part of your own body, is being sculpted into a public declaration of your status. This mark ensures that wherever you go in the city, every person who sees you will know what you are. You are a wardom, a slave. It is a mark designed to make escape more difficult and to enforce the social order. You're sporting the latest trend in slave haircuts. The abatu, it's a bold, asymmetrical look that says, I am the legal property of another man and have a high risk of being flogged if I spill his wine. As you sit there, the razor scraping against your scalp, you contemplate the full meaning of your new legal status. You are no longer a person in the eyes of the law. You are property, an object with a monetary value. no different from an ox or a clay pot. You can be bought and sold. Your master can lease you out to another man for a daily wage. If your master dies, you will be passed down to his son as part of the inheritance. Listed in the will alongside the furniture and the livestock, the Great Code of Hammurabi, the pillar of Babylonian law, which you once thought of as a distant concern for city dwellers, is now the operating manual for your life. And it is a terrifying document. You think of the laws you have heard recited. Law 282. If a slave shall say to his master, "You are not my master," and that be proved against him, his master shall cut off his ear. Your very identity is now legally bound to him. To deny it is to invite mutilation. You think of the laws concerning runaways. If you were to escape, and another free man were to find you and harbor you in his house, that man would be put to death. The law demands that any citizen who finds a runaway slave must bring them to the public crier and return them to their master. There is a reward for doing so. The entire state, the entire community, is now your jailer. There is nowhere to run. You are lucky, in a way, as a debt slave, a Babylonian citizen. Your servitude is by law, temporary, 3 years. But you have heard the stories. You know that a cruel master can find ways to extend the debt. He can charge you for the miserable food you eat, for the rough tunic on your back, adding it to your original debt until it becomes a sum you can never hope to repay. Historians will later debate this was the 3-year limit a real protection, or just a legal fiction. You pray to the gods that your new master is an honorable man, but you know your fate rests entirely on his personal character. The haircut is finished. The slave holds up a small, polished bronze mirror. You look at your reflection, and you do not recognize the man you see. The face is yours, but it is the face of a stranger. The strange. Half-shaven hairstyle is a badge of shame. The man who was a free farmer, the head of his own family, is gone. In his place is this creature. This object. Your transformation is complete. The steward grabs you by the arm and pulls you to your feet. Your old life is over, he grunts. Now, your work begins. He leads you to the back of the courtyard. Your first task is a simple one. You are to clean the animal pens. It is dirty, menial, and humiliating work. You are given a shovel and a basket as you begin your first task as a slave. The full weight of your new reality settles upon you. Every aspect of your old identity, your freedom, your land, your name, your family, your very appearance has been systematically stripped away. You have been unmade. You are no longer a person who owns things. You are now a thing that is owned, and your only purpose, for the next 3 years or for the rest of your life, is to serve the will of the man who holds your contract. You are now the slave. You are property. Your new life and your master's grand. Sprawling house in the city of Babylon is a world away from the simple, self-directed toil of your farm. It is a life of endless, grueling, and utterly meaningless chores. Governed not by the sun and the seasons, but by the ringing of a small bronze bell and the shouted commands of your new masters. Your day begins in the darkness. Hours before the sun rises, you are awakened by the head steward, a man named Bel-Nasir, who is himself a slave, but one who has risen to a position of immense power within the household. He rules the other slaves with a harsh and unforgiving hand. His own security dependent on maintaining perfect order. He strikes a gong, and you and the other male slaves stir from your thin reed mats on the floor of the cramped, windowless servants' quarters. Your first task of the day is to fetch water. You take 2 large, heavy clay jars, balancing them on a wooden yoke across your shoulders, and you make your way through the still dark streets to the nearest public canal, fed by the great Euphrates River. The water is murky and brown, but it is the lifeblood of the city. You make several trips, your shoulders and back straining under the weight, until the household's great water cisterns are full. This water will be used for everything for cooking, for washing, and for the master's family to drink. You know it is not clean, but it is all there is. Next, you are assigned to the grinding room. Here, several female slaves are already at work, kneeling before heavy, saddle-shaped stone querns. Your job is to assist them, to pour the hard. Dry barley grains onto the stone as they work a smaller, loaf-shaped grinding stone back and forth, their bodies moving in a steady, monotonous rhythm. The air is thick with fine, gritty flour dust that gets into your lungs and makes you cough. The work is traditionally for women, and being assigned to it is a subtle humiliation, a reminder of your lowly status among the other slaves. As the sun rises and the master's family awakens, your duties shift. You become a silent, invisible piece of furniture. You stand at the edge of the courtyard while your master, the merchant, eats his morning meal. He dines on fine bread made from sifted wheat flour, on dates, figs, and honey, and on beer that is far richer and sweeter than any you have ever tasted. You stand perfectly still, your eyes downcast, your stomach rumbling. Your own breakfast, which you will eat later, will be a small, hard cake of coarse barley flour and a cup of water. You are the silent witness to a world of plenty that you may never share. Your job description is simple, everything no one else wants to do. Your days are filled with a varied and exciting array of tasks, from heavy lifting to being a silent, terrified piece of furniture during dinner. The day is filled with an endless list of chores. You must muck out the pens of the few goats and sheep the master keeps in a back courtyard. You must sweep the main courtyard, your broom raising clouds of dust in the hot. Dry air. You might be sent on an errand into the city, a terrifying prospect. You are given a clay tablet with a message inscribed on it and told to deliver it to another merchant across the city. You walk through the teeming streets, your strange, half-shaven Ubuntu haircut marking you for all to see. You are a slave. If you are jostled or insulted, you have no recourse. If you are delayed, you will face the steward's anger when you return. Within the household, you begin to learn the complex social hierarchy of your fellow slaves. You are at the very bottom. Above you are the slaves with valuable skills, the cook, who rules the kitchens, the skilled female weavers, who create the family's fine linen clothing. And at the very top, the literate scribe who manages the master's accounts. These skilled slaves are treated better. They eat better food, and they look down on common laborers like you with a haughty disdain. There is a career ladder in the slave hierarchy, with years of hard work and absolute obedience. You could be promoted from guy who cleans the animal pens to guy who gets slightly better leftovers. The opportunities are endless. And then there is your own family. You see them only in brief, fleeting moments. You might catch a glimpse of your wife across the courtyard, her back bent over a great loom in the weaving workshop, her face already looking tired and thin. You might see your young son scurrying to fetch a cup for the master's wife, his eyes wide with a fear that breaks your heart. You cannot speak to them. You cannot comfort them. Your family has been atomized, its pieces absorbed into the great machine of the household. Your master has the right to do with them as he pleases. He could sell your wife. He could sell your children. The constant, low-level fear of this possibility is a torment worse than any physical labor. Your entire existence is dictated by the mood of your master. If he has had a good day of trade, he might be expansive, generous. He might order an extra ration of beer for the slaves. These are the good days, but if a deal has gone sour, or if he has been insulted by another merchant, his anger ripples through the entire household. He might lash out at a slave for the smallest of infractions. You see a female slave receive a brutal cuff to the head for accidentally spilling a drop of water. You see a male slave whipped by the steward for being slow to respond to a call. You learn to read the master's moods as a farmer reads the weather. To make yourself small and invisible when a storm is brewing, the law, the great code of Hammurabi, offers you some small, theoretical protections. It says your master cannot kill you without cause, but it also reinforces your status as property in 100 different ways. You learn of laws that you never knew existed. You learn that if you, a slave, were to strike a free man, your ear would be cut off. But if a free man were to strike you, he would simply have to pay a small fine to your master for damaging his property. The legal system has a number of laws designed to protect your rights as a slave. For example, your master isn't allowed to kill you without a good reason. This is considered very progressive for the 18th century BCE. Historians in the distant future will debate the lived experience of a slave like you. Did the law provide any real protection? Or was the master's home a private kingdom, where his will was the only true law? The existence of slave hierarchies, of personal relationships, and even of rare records of slaves being allowed to own tiny amounts of property suggests a more complex reality than one of simple. Total domination. But for you, this complexity is an academic matter. Your reality is the steward's angry voice, the ache in your back, and the constant, gnawing hunger in your belly at the end of another long, exhausting day. You are given your evening meal another hard barley cake and a handful of dates. You eat it in the slave quarters, in the tired, silent company of the other men. You then collapse onto your reed mat, your body a landscape of pain. You can hear the faint sounds of your master's family in the main part of the house, the sound of music, of laughter. It is a world away. You lie in the darkness and you think of your farm, of the feeling of the earth in your hands, of the simple dignity of your old life. That man, the free man, is gone. You are the slave. You are a tool, an object. You have survived another day, and you know, with a heavy, leaden certainty, that tomorrow will be exactly the same. The same work, the same food, the same master, unless, of course, your master decides that your labor would be more valuable not in his house, but in his fields outside the city, a prospect of even harder, more brutal toil under the merciless Mesopotamian sun. Your life in the master's household, a world of endless, menial chores, is abruptly upended. One morning, the steward, Belnasir, informs you that your labor is required elsewhere. The master has acquired a new tract of land along one of the great canals outside the city, and a strong back like yours is needed for the coming barley harvest. This is not a promotion. It is a transfer from the slow, simmering misery of domestic servitude to the open, blazing furnace of agricultural slavery. You are marched out of the city gates at dawn, part of a small group of other male slaves deemed strong enough for field work. You walk past the lands you once farmed yourself, a journey through the landscape of your own ghost. The irony is a bitter, metallic taste in your mouth. You are returning to the world of the farmer, but as a beast of burden, not a man. You arrive at your new home. It is not a house, but a crude barracks. A long, low, mud brick structure built to house the master's field slaves. The conditions are even more squalid than the servants' quarters in the city. You are given a spot on the floor and a reed mat. Your life is now governed by a new authority, a grim, sun-darkened overseer, a waklam, a free man in the master's employ whose only job is to extract the maximum amount of labor from you and the other slaves by any means necessary. He carries a light, leather whip, and he uses it often. Not with anger, but with the casual indifference of a man goading a stubborn ox. Your life becomes a cycle of pure, physical toil under the merciless Mesopotamian sun. The entire civilization of Babylon, with its towering ziggurats and magnificent palaces, is built on a single, fragile foundation water. The great rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, provide the water, but it is the vast, intricate network of man-made irrigation canals that is the true circulatory system of the empire. And this system requires constant, back-breaking maintenance. This becomes your primary job. You are woken before the sun has even begun to lighten the eastern sky. After a meager meal of coarse barley porridge, you are marched out to the Great Canal. Your task for the day, for the week, for the month, is to dredge the silt. The canals, over time, fill with the rich mud and silt carried by the river water. If they are not cleaned out, they will choke, and the water will cease to flow, and the fields will die. The work is brutal in its simplicity. You are given a heavy, broad-bladed hoe and a large, woven reed basket. You are sent down into the canal itself, the water a thick brown, lukewarm soup that comes up to your knees, and sometimes your waist. You stand all day in this parasite-infested mud, under the blazing sun, with no shelter or shade. Your task is to scoop the heavy, wet silt from the bottom of the canal into your basket. You then haul the impossibly heavy basket up the steep, slippery bank and dump the mud on the levee, reinforcing it, and then you go back for another, and another, and another. All day long, you have received a transfer to your company's agricultural division. The work involves standing in waist-deep, parasite-infested mud all day. It's a great opportunity to get back to nature. If nature is trying to give you a waterborne illness, the sun is your greatest tormentor. It beats down on your head and your back, your skin turning a dark, burned brown. The glare from the water is blinding. Dehydration is a constant, life-threatening danger. The overseer allows you a few sips of water from a skin throughout the day, but it is never enough. At the end of the day, your body is a single, throbbing ache, your muscles screaming, your hands raw and blistered from the rough basket handles. You have become a human dredging machine. You notice something strange about the fields you are working to irrigate. Along the edges, where the water evaporates, a thin, white crust has formed on the soil. It is salt. This is an obscure but fatal secret of this land. Centuries of irrigation, of bringing the mineral-rich river water to the fields and allowing it to evaporate, has slowly but surely poisoned the very soil you are working. You are toiling to sustain a system that is, with agonizing slowness, destroying itself when the time for the harvest arrives. The nature of your labor changes, but not its intensity. Now, speed is everything. The barley must be brought in before a sudden rainstorm can ruin it, or before the locusts descend. You are sent into the fields, which shimmer with a golden heat. You are given a small, curved sickle. Its blade made not of metal, but of sharp flint flakes set in a clay handle. You work in a long line with the other slaves, bent over at the waist, a position you will maintain from sunup to sundown. You grab a handful of the dry, prickly barley stalks and slice through them with your sickle. The work is fast, repetitive, and agonizing. Your back feels as if it will snap in two. The sharp edges of the barley stalks leave hundreds of small, itchy cuts on your arms and hands. The air is thick with a fine dust of chaff that gets in your eyes, your nose, your throat, making you cough and spit black phlegm. The cut barley is then taken to a hard-packed earthen threshing floor. Here, it is spread out, and teams of oxen are driven around and around in circles, their heavy hooves treading the grain from the stalks. Your job is to keep the barley spread evenly, to avoid the great beast's hooves, and to breathe in the thick, choking dust. After the threshing, you take up a simple wooden pitchfork and begin the process of winnowing. You toss the mixture of grain and chaff into the air. The wind, if it is blowing, carries away the lighter chaff, while the heavier barley grains fall back to the floor. It is a simple, ingenious process, and it is incredibly taxing. Throughout all of this, you think of your old life. You are doing the same work you did as a free man. You are planting, you are harvesting, but the meaning is gone when you worked your own land. The labor was for a purpose. I mean, I know, Austin, it was for your family. It was for your own survival. There was a dignity in it. a connection to the land and the gods. Now it is just toil. Joyless, meaningless toil for another man's profit. Your only motivation is the overseer's presence, the flick of his whip. He is your new god, the only one whose demands matter. Historians in the future will debate the nature of the great Babylonian labor force. Were the great canals and harvests accomplished mostly by chattel slaves, like prisoners of war, or by debt slaves like you, supplemented by the corvée labor of free peasants? The clay tablets show a complex mixture of statuses, a world where the lines between free, semi-free, and unfree were often blurred. But for you, the distinction is meaningless. Your back aches the same. The sun burns the same. The overseer's whip stings the same. At the end of a long day of harvesting, you are marched back to the barracks. You are given your meager ration of barley porridge. You collapse onto your reed mat. Your body's so tired that you fall into a heavy, dreamless sleep almost instantly. You have been taken from the household, from the world of the city, and returned to the land. But you have not returned as a farmer. You have returned as one of the tools used to work the earth. You are no different from the hoe you carry or the sickle you swing. You are an instrument, owned and operated by your master, for his gain alone. Your spirit, like the land around you, is slowly being drained of its life. The days of toiling in the sun-baked fields bleed into one another, a monotonous cycle of sweat, mud, and aching muscles. You have become an automaton, a human tool that digs and lifts and carries. Your mind dulled by the repetitive labor. But one day, an incident occurs that pierces through the fog of your exhaustion and teaches you a new and more terrible lesson. It teaches you about the law, a fellow slave, a man captured in a border war from the eastern mountains, makes a run for it. In the haze of midday, he simply drops his basket, scrambles up the canal embankment, and sprints towards the distant, hazy line of the horizon. The overseer shouts, but the man is fast. For a moment, a wild, dangerous flicker of hope ignites in your own chest. Maybe he can make it. Maybe escape is possible. The hope is extinguished almost immediately. The overseer blows a loud, shrill whistle from a nearby watchtower. Two of the master's guards on horseback emerge. They gallop across the plain, their pursuit effortless and swift. They run the man down in less than a mile. They do not kill him. They tie his hands and drag him back to the worksite. A grim lesson for all to see. That evening, the runaway slave is brought before the master himself, who has ridden out from the city. The overseer reads from a clay tablet, citing the law of the great King Hammurabi, and you learn that the chains that bind you are not just the whims of a master or the whip of an overseer. They are the very law of the land, carved in stone, immutable and absolute. You learn that the Code of Hammurabi, the great legal pillar of your civilization, is a document of terrifying dualities. It is a code that both protects and owns you, and its protections only serve to reinforce the reality of your ownership. You listen as the master discusses the fate of the runaway. He is angry, not because of the man's desire for freedom, but because of the disruption to the work and the potential loss of a valuable asset. You learn that under the law, you have a certain specific value. If a doctor were to perform surgery on you and you were to die, the law states that the doctor would have to replace you, providing your master with a new slave of equal value. If you were gored by another man's ox, that man would have to pay a fine to your master for the damage to his property. The law protects you, but it protects you as a piece of valuable livestock. It is a great comfort in your final moments to know that your owner's assets are secure. Your health and your life are important only because they represent a financial investment. This is the nature of the law's protection, but the other side of the law, the side that deals with ownership, is far more direct and brutal. The runaway slave, you learn, has not just broken your master's rule, He has broken the king's law, the law of the empire. You hear the citation of the specific statutes. Law 15. If anyone take a male or female slave of the court, or a male or female slave of a commoner, outside the city gates, he shall be put to death. Law 16. If anyone receive into his house a runaway male or female slave, he shall be put to death. The words send a chill through you despite the evening heat. The law does not just punish the runaway. It punishes anyone who might dare to show a moment of human compassion. Every citizen of Babylon is legally required to be your jailer. The government has a very effective see something, say something policy regarding runaway slaves. If you see something and don't say something, you will be put to death. It's a very effective neighborhood watch program. There is even a reward. Law 17 stipulates that a man who captures a runaway in the open country and returns him to his master must be paid a bounty of 2 shekels of silver. You are not just property. You are a lost animal with a price on your head. And then there is the law regarding your own thoughts. Law 282 is simple and terrifying. If a slave say to his master, "You are not my master," if they convict him, his master shall cut off his ear. The law punishes not just the act of escape, but the very thought of it. The verbal denial of your status as property. The Employee Handbook, also known as the Code of Hammurabi, is very clear on insubordination. If you tell your boss, "You're not my boss," company policy is to have your ear cut off. It really fosters a culture of respect. The runaway slave is flogged mercilessly in front of you and the other slaves. Then, the overseer takes a hot iron from the fire. The smell of burning flesh fills the air as he brands the man's shoulder with the master's mark, a permanent sign of his ownership and his crime. He will carry that scar for the rest of his life, a warning to all who see him. You are a debt slave, a Babylonian, not a foreign captive. Your situation is slightly different, a nuance of the law that is both an obscure detail and the center of your entire existence. The law says you are to serve for 3 years, but you see now how fragile that protection is. You are still a slave, and the laws of ownership apply to you just as they do to the man from the eastern mountains. Historians in the future will debate the nature of this complex legal code. Did the laws of Hammurabi represent a great step forward? An attempt to create a just and ordered society where even a slave had some small measure of legal standing? Or was it simply a tool of state control? A way to codify and enforce a brutal social hierarchy? Where the protections were merely a form of asset management for the property-owning class? As you watch the branded slave being dragged away, his back a ruin of bloody welts, you feel you know the answer. The law is not a shield for you. It is the cage itself. It is an invisible, inescapable prison. Its bars forged from the full weight and authority of the king and the gods. The master's whip can break your body. But it is the law. The cold, impartial, and implacable words on the clay tablets. That breaks your spirit. It systematically strips away any hope of escape. It tells you that your life is not your own, and that the entire world is aligned to ensure it remains that way. You return to your work in the fields the next day. The sun is the same. The mud is the same. The overseer's voice is the same. But something inside you has changed. You have looked into the true face of the law, and you have seen your own reflection in it, the reflection of a piece of property. A thing that is owned. A creature whose only right is the right to serve. The faint hope that your 3-year term of servitude will be honored and you will one day be free feels more distant and more fragile than ever before. You are trapped not just by your master, but by the very civilization that built these great walls and ziggurats. You have learned the hard lesson of the law. You are property, and the full weight of the state is aligned to keep you that way. This fundamental truth shapes every aspect of your existence, but none more so than the food you eat. For a slave in Babylon, food is not about pleasure or community or even health. It is about fuel. You are a biological machine, and your diet is the absolute minimum amount of low-grade fuel required to keep you working for your master's profit. Your day of hard labor in the sun-baked fields begins and ends with the same meal, a meal that will become the defining taste of your servitude. It is barley, not the fine, sifted wheat flour that your master's household eats in the form of soft, light bread. You are given the coarsest form of barley, barely separated from its tough, fibrous husk in the morning before you are marched out to the canals or the fields. You are given your ration. It is a thick, gray, and utterly bland porridge. The barley has been boiled in water for hours, with a handful of salt thrown in for flavor. It is served in a rough clay bowl, and you eat it quickly, scooping it up with your fingers or a piece of hardened flatbread. It is warm, and it fills the aching emptiness in your stomach. But it offers no pleasure. It is a purely functional act. Your midday meal, eaten under the blazing sun, is a testament to portable misery. It is a small, hard, dry cake of barley flour. The flour is gritty, mixed with water, and baked until it is a dense, brick-like substance that you must gnaw on like a dog with a bone. You might have a few dried, shriveled dates to go with it, their intense sweetness a brief. Shocking contrast to the blandness of the barley cake. This is all the fuel you will get to see you through the hardest part of the day. The evening meal is a repeat of the morning, another bowl of the same gray, lumpy porridge, day after day, week after week, month after month. The menu in the slave quarters is a testament to the versatility of barley. You can have it as a hard, dry cake, or you can have it as a wet, gray porridge. The chef is very creative. This monotonous diet is sometimes supplemented with other cheap, readily available vegetables. A few onions or leeks might be thrown into the great pot of porridge. Their sharp flavor a welcome, if rare. Addition, you might be given a small ration of lentils or chickpeas, but for the most part, your world of flavor is a small, circumscribed one. The one great constant, besides the barley, is the beer, the shikaru. Babylon is a civilization built on beer. It is a food, a drink, and a vital source of calories and hydration, often safer to drink than the raw river water. But just as there is a hierarchy of men, there is a hierarchy of beer. Your master and his family drink a fine, strong, filtered beer, a golden liquid worthy of being offered to the gods. The beer you are given is the dregs of the brewing process. It is a thick, cloudy, sour, and weak beverage, little more than fermented barley water. You drink it from a communal jug, sometimes using a reed straw to bypass the bits of floating chaff and sediment at the bottom. It is not refreshing, but it is wet, and it is calories. It keeps you alive. The most torturous part of your dietary life is not what you eat. It is what you see others eat. Sometimes, for a great festival or when your master is entertaining important guests, you are brought back from the fields to the city house to serve at the banquet. You stand silently against the wall of the great courtyard, which is now lit by dozens of flickering oil lamps. The air is filled with the sounds of music, a harp, a lyre, a flute, and the laughter of wealthy men. And the smells. The smells are an exquisite form of torture. You smell roasted lamb, seasoned with garlic and mint. You smell pigeons stuffed with dates and nuts. You smell fresh, soft wheaten bread, and honey cakes dripping with sweetness. You smell the rich, fragrant wine that the guests drink from fine. Clay cups. You get a front row seat to your master's feast. You get to experience all the rich, delicious smells. The only thing you don't get to experience is the taste. Your job is to be an invisible servant. You hold a jug of wine, ready to refill your master's cup the moment it is empty. You stand by the table, and you watch them eat. They eat with their hands, tearing off chunks of the tender, juicy meat. They dip their fine bread into bowls of seasoned olive oil. They laugh, and they throw scraps of unwanted food onto the floor for the household dogs. After the feast is over, your job is to clean up. You gather the half-eaten remains from the table. You see a piece of bread, soaked in the rich juices of the roasted lamb. You see a handful of figs left on a plate. The hunger in your own belly is a physical, cramping pain. The temptation to steal a single, discarded mouthful is immense, an almost overwhelming urge. But you resist it. You have seen what happens to slaves who steal food. A swift, brutal flogging from the overseer is the best you could hope for. So you scrape these precious, uneaten treasures into the waste bucket, your heart aching with a profound sense of injustice. Your meal tonight will be the same bowl of gray porridge you have every night. This diet, so lacking in variety and key nutrients, takes its toll on your body. Your health is a constant, low-level struggle. You might lack the iron from red meat, leaving you feeling weak and anemic. A lack of other vitamins might lead to skin sores or problems with your eyesight. Archaeologists of the future, studying the bones of people from your time, will be able to tell the difference between a slave and a nobleman. They will see the evidence of your diet written in your very skeleton, the signs of malnutrition. The stunted growth, the heavy wear on your teeth from the grit in your coarse bread. The amount of food you receive is not accidental. It is calculated. Your master is a merchant. He understands profit and loss. You are an asset, and he must maintain you. But he will maintain you at the absolute minimum cost possible. Clay tablets, a kind of administrative receipt, have been found from your time that detail the precise monthly rations allotted to slaves, a set measure of barley, a small amount of sesame oil, a few handfuls of dates. Your existence has been reduced to a line item in your master's account book. You are a recurring expenditure. You lie on your reed mat in the slave's barracks after another long day of labor. Your belly is full of the same barley porridge. It has quieted the immediate ache of hunger, but it has not nourished you. You feel a deep, cellular weariness, a lack of true vitality. You are a tool that is slowly being worn down by use. You know that you are being kept just alive enough to perform your function, to work in the fields and create the great agricultural surplus. The barley and the wheat that feeds the city, that funds the armies. That allows your master to feast on roasted lamb. Your life of misery and monotonous food is the very foundation upon which the glittering, magnificent civilization of Babylon is built. After a season of grueling labor in the fields, the harvest is complete, and the master's granaries are full. You and the other field hands are brought back from the rural barracks to the great city house in Babylon. For a time, the nature of your work changes again. You are returned to the endless, menial chores of the household, and you are reunited, in a fashion, with your family. It is not the reunion of a free man returning to his home. It is the reunion of livestock being returned to the same pen. You still sleep in the cramped, smelly quarters with the other male slaves. Your wife still sleeps with the female servants in the weaving quarters. Your children sleep on mats in whatever corner of the house they are assigned to. But you see them now, every day. You catch your wife's eye as she passes through the courtyard, her back bent from the long hours at the great loom. You see your son, now a little older, helping to clean the pots in the kitchen. You see your daughter learning to grind barley, her small hands already showing the calluses of her station. You exchange quiet words when the steward is not looking, a whispered question about their health, a shared fleeting look of sorrow. But you cannot be a father to your children. You cannot be a husband to your wife. You have no authority, no ability to protect them. You are all just different pieces of your master's property, living under his roof, subject to his will. It is a common historical fact that slaves in your time were often allowed, and even encouraged, to form families. A slave family was a productive unit. It produced new slaves, saving the master the cost of buying them at the market. And it was a powerful tool of control. A man with a wife and children is a man with hostages, a man far less likely to cause trouble or attempt to run away. And so, you and your wife are allowed to continue your life as a couple. Of a sort, your union is recognized by the master, but any child you conceive is born into the same state as you. They are born slaves. They are the property of your master from their first breath. They are not your children in the eyes of the law. They are an increase in your master's assets. Like a calf born to his cow, your beautiful baby is also listed on his balance sheet as a future asset. This is the great, open wound of your existence. It is a source of constant, low-level terror that hums beneath every moment of your life. The physical hardship, the hunger, the exhaustion, these things are terrible. But the knowledge that your family is not your own, that they can be taken from you at any moment, is a far crueler torture. One day, your master has a visitor, another wealthy merchant. They sit in the shade of the courtyard, drinking fine beer from clay cups, discussing a business deal involving a shipment of cedar wood from the distant mountains of Lebanon. You are serving them, a silent, invisible presence, refilling their cups, your eyes always downcast. Your son, who is now perhaps 6 years old, runs into the courtyard, chasing a stray cat. He is a bright, healthy boy, despite the meager diet. The visiting merchant watches him, a speculative gleam in his eye. A strong-looking boy. The merchant says to your master, "He is yours, born in this house." Your master says with a casual pride, "His father is one of my debt slaves. A farmer. Good. Sturdy stock. I have need of a new house servant," the merchant says. Still watching your son. "My wife's current boy is clumsy. I will give you 20 shekels of silver for him." Your blood runs cold. You feel a wave of dizziness, and you have to steady yourself against a pillar. They are haggling over your son. They are discussing his price as if he were a young goat or a sack of dates. 20 shekels is an insult. Your master scoffs, though you can hear the interest in his voice. "He is a smart boy. He will be a valuable worker when he is older." 35 shekels. 25. The merchant counters. "And a small jar of that fine Egyptian incense you showed me. 30, and the deal is made." Your master says, "Done," the merchant says. They shake hands. And just like that, with a few words spoken over a cup of beer, your son has been sold. Your world shrinks to the sound of the blood roaring in your ears. You stand there, a statue of silent agony. As these two men finalize the transaction that will shatter your family, you have no voice. You have no rights. You are a piece of furniture in the room where your own child has just been sold away from you forever. The next morning, the merchant's servants come to collect their new property. Your wife is weeping, a silent, terrible grief that convulses her entire body. She clings to your son, but the servants pull them apart. You are allowed a final moment to say goodbye, a final act of the master's mercy. You kneel before your son. You look into his terrified, confused eyes. What can you say? Can you tell him to be brave? Can you tell him to be good? Can you promise him you will see him again? It would be a lie. You simply place your hand on his head, the head that you remember being so small and fragile at his birth. You have no words. There are no words for this kind of pain. And then he is gone, led away through the great door of the courtyard, out into the city, out of your life. You are left with a hollowed-out emptiness that is worse than any hunger. The law is clear. Your master had every right to do what he did. Your child was his property to dispose of as he saw fit. This was not an act of unusual cruelty. It was a simple business transaction, a common and accepted part of your world. Historians and Assyriologists will one day debate the nature of the slave family in your time. Was it a humane recognition of the basic needs of the enslaved? Or was it, as your own shattered heart now tells you, simply a more cynical and effective form of control? a way to breed new slaves while using the threat of separation to ensure the obedience of the parents. You know the answer. The chains that hold a man are never stronger than when they are wrapped around the ones he loves. That night, you lie on your reed mat in the darkness of the slave quarters. You do not sleep. You stare into the blackness, and you see your son's face. You have endured the loss of your freedom, your name, your dignity, but this new loss is a wound from which you think you can never recover. You have been brought to the absolute bottom of human existence, and from this place of utter despair, only two paths seem possible. One is the faint, almost unimaginable glimmer of hope for your own freedom. The other is the dark, terrifying path of resistance. A path you now know has a terrible final price. The loss of your son is a wound that does not heal. It is a hollow space in your soul, a constant, silent scream, the daily grind of your labor, the bland taste of the barley porridge, the heat of the sun. It all feels distant, unreal. You are a ghost, moving through the motions of a life that is no longer your own in any meaningful way. You have been brought to the absolute bottom. Despair is your only companion. And yet, even in this profound darkness, a tiny, almost imperceptible glimmer of light remains. It is a fragile, distant, and perhaps foolish hope. But it is the only thing you have left. It is the hope of freedom in the world you now inhabit. Freedom is not a right. It is a rare and precious commodity, a treasure that can be attained only through a few narrow, difficult, and uncertain paths. You spend your nights on your reed mat, no longer sleeping, but contemplating these paths, turning them over and over in your mind like worn, smooth stones. The first path is the one that applies directly to you. It is the path of the law. You are a debt slave, a citizen of Babylon, and the great code of Hammurabi itself has decreed that your servitude should not be for life. You close your eyes and you can hear the words of law. Was 17, the words the merchant himself spoke, the words that are now your only prayer. He shall serve for 3 years in the house of the man who bought him. In the 4th year, his freedom shall be granted. 3 years. You begin to count. You mark the passing of the seasons not by the planting and the harvest, but as another small piece of your sentence chipped away. You watch the phases of the moon, counting each cycle. The hope is a double-edged sword. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning, to endure the overseer's curses, to swallow the tasteless food, but it also creates a new kind of anxiety. You know that the law is not always the reality. You have seen how your master, a man of wealth and influence, can bend the world to his will. What is to stop him from claiming that the cost of the meager food you eat, or the rough tunic on your back, has been added to your debt? What is to stop him from accusing you of breaking a tool or damaging his property, and extending your servitude to pay for it? Your freedom is guaranteed by law. All you have to do is hope your master doesn't use any creative accounting to add the cost of your oxygen consumption to your debt. You watch the other slaves in the household, and you see the other paths to freedom, each as unlikely as the next. There is an old man, a scribe who was captured in a war 40 years ago. He is a chattel slave, his servitude meant to be for life. He has served your master's family faithfully, with quiet dignity, his entire adult life. He taught your master how to read and write when he was a boy. Now, your master himself is growing old. One day, you overhear him dictating his will to the old scribe himself. And in the will, as a final act of piety to please the gods and ensure a peaceful journey into the underworld for himself, your master includes a provision upon his death. The old scribe, his faithful servant, is to be granted his freedom. This is the path of manumission, of freedom granted by the mercy of a master. It is a hope for the slaves who have given a lifetime of loyal service. When the master finally dies, you witness the ceremony. The old scribe is brought before the master's son, the new head of the household. A priest is summoned, a new clay tablet, a tablet of freedom is inscribed, formally documenting his release. The old slave's head is then completely shaved, a ritual cleansing that removes the last physical trace of his servitude. He walks out of the household gates, an old, stooped man, finally free, with nowhere to go and only a few years of life left to him. It is a freedom that looks much like a final. Lonely exile. There is a third path. The most remarkable of all, it is the path of self-purchase. One of the female slaves in the household is a master weaver. Her skill is so great that your master leases her out to the temple or to other wealthy households to create fine, intricate textiles, by law. A portion of the earnings from such work belongs to the slave herself. This is her peculium, a small personal fund that the master cannot, in theory, touch over the course of 2 decades. This woman has, with incredible patience and discipline, saved every tiny bit of silver she has earned. She has lived on the barest of rations, never spending a single extra coin. She has amassed a small fortune, a treasure hidden in a clay pot buried under her sleeping mat. And one day, she goes before the master. She presents him with the silver, the full market price for a skilled slave like herself. She is buying her own personhood back. The master, being a man who respects a good business deal above all else. Except, another tablet is drawn up, and she, too, walks out of the gates a free woman. You can buy your own freedom. You just need to have a highly marketable skill, a master who allows you to earn money, and about 20 years of living like a miser. It's a great long-term investment plan. These stories, these faint glimmers of hope, are the currency of the slave quarters. They are whispered at night, traded back and forth. They keep the spark of hope alive in a world of overwhelming despair. But your hope is fixed on the law. You count the days. You endure the labor. You survive the hunger. And finally, the day arrives. It has been 3 full years since the merchant came to your farm and claimed you. You are summoned before your master. You stand in the great courtyard, your heart pounding. Your wife is there, her face a mask of anxious hope. This is the moment. Will he honor the code of the great Hammurabi? Or will he find a reason, an excuse, to keep you in his chains? The master looks at you. He has his account tablets with him. He has calculated the value of your labor for the past 3 years. He has deducted the cost of the food you have eaten. He looks at you, then at the tablet, then back at you. Your debt is paid, he says. His voice flat. He does not say it with kindness or with warmth. He says it as a man closing a ledger. The contract is fulfilled. You are free to go. The words are so simple, but they remake your world. Free. You are free. The steward comes forward with his razor, but this time, he does not shave your head into the shameful abutu. He shaves your entire head, cleansing you of the mark of the slave. You're given back a set of simple, clean clothes. You walk towards the great gate of the household. Your wife at your side. You do not look back. You step out into the bustling street of Babylon. The sounds, the smells, the sights of the city are the same. But you are different. You are a free man again. But what does that mean? Your freedom is a hollow, bitter thing. Your farm is long gone, taken over by another family. Your tools are sold. You have no money. And your children are gone, sold away, lost to you forever. You have been freed from your master's chains, but you are still trapped in the cage of your own poverty and your own grief. You have been given your life back, but it is a life that has been gutted, its most precious contents removed. You stand with your wife in the middle of the noisy street. 2 free people with nothing in the world but the ragged clothes on your backs and the shared. Silent pain in your hearts. You have followed the path of the law, and it has led you out of bondage. But as you look at the long, dusty road ahead, you realize your struggle for survival is far from over. Freedom, you learn, is just another word for starting over. With nothing, you have been granted your freedom, a hollow, bitter prize bought with the loss of your children and your land. You have walked the path of the law, of patient endurance, and it has led you out of your master's house. A free man with nothing. But there was another path you could have taken. Let us turn back. Let us imagine that after your son was sold, the grief and the rage inside you did not settle into a quiet, hollow despair. Let us imagine that it hardened, that it crystallized into a single, sharp, and dangerous resolve. You have already lost everything that mattered. Your land is gone. Your son is gone. Your wife is a fellow slave. A ghost who shares your misery but whom you cannot protect. You have nothing left to lose. The fear of your master's punishment is now less than the burning, all-consuming desire to be free. What if you chose not to wait for the law's slow, uncertain mercy? What if you decided to run? The decision is a secret fire you nurture in your heart. To speak of it would be madness. You know the law. You know that anyone who aids you will be put to death. This is a journey you must make alone. You begin to plan. It is an act of profound hope in a world that has given you none. You start to hoard your food, hiding a small piece of your barley cake each day, wrapping it in a piece of cloth and hiding it in a crack in the wall of the slave quarters. It is a pitifully small store of provisions, but it is a start. You become a student of your prison. You observe the routines of the household with a new, sharp intensity. You learn the patterns of the guards who watch the main gate. You note which part of the great compound wall is lowest, which corner is cast in the deepest shadow at night. You watch the moon, waiting for a moonless, overcast night that will give you the cover of absolute darkness. The escape is not a heroic, daring dash. It is a thing of silent, terrified stealth. On the chosen night, you wait until the household is deep in sleep. The only sound is the breathing of the other slaves around you. You retrieve your small bundle of food. You slip out of the slave quarters, your bare feet making no sound on the cool clay floor of the courtyard. Every shadow is an enemy. Every distant bark of a dog makes your heart leap into your throat. You reach the outer wall. It is high, built of sun-baked mud brick. You find the spot you had chosen, where a gnarled old tree grows close to the wall. You climb the tree, your hands and feet clumsy, your breath held tight in your chest from a high branch. You leap to the top of the wall. For a moment you lie there, panting, looking down at the dark. Sleeping city of Babylon. You are almost free. You lower yourself down the other side, dropping the last 10 feet into the dusty alley below. You have done it. You are outside your master's walls. You navigate the labyrinthine streets of the city, keeping to the shadows. Your goal is the great city gate, which you know is closed and guarded at night. But near the gate, the wall is older, more crumbled. You find a place where the bricks have fallen away. Creating a difficult but scalable path, you climb, your fingers and toes finding purchase in the crumbling brick. You reach the top of the Great Wall of Babylon itself. You look out at the dark. Open country beyond, a vast expanse of freedom. You lower yourself down and you begin to run. A wild, desperate, and joyous sprint. For a day, you are free. You hide in the reed beds by the river. You travel through the fields at night. The feeling of being your own master, of your movements being dictated by your own will, is so intoxicating it feels like a dream. But you are a marked man. Your absence was discovered at the morning muster. Your master, enraged at the loss of his property, has sent his guards out to hunt you. He has posted a notice with the public crier, offering the legal reward of 2 shekels of silver for your capture. Every farmer, Every traveler you see is a potential bounty hunter. And you're a butu. Your slave's haircut is a beacon that announces your status to all who see you. You are caught on the third day. A farmer, seeing you hiding in his field, alerts the local patrol. You are surrounded. You have nowhere to run. You are bound, and you are dragged back to Babylon, back to the house of the master you defied. The punishment is not a legal matter for the magistrate. It is a private matter for your master. You have not broken the king's law. You have stolen your master's property yourself, and he has the right to discipline his property as he sees fit. You are brought into the central courtyard. All the other slaves, including your wife, are forced to assemble to witness your punishment. This is not just for you. It is a lesson for them all. You are stripped and tied to a post. The overseer, the waklam, stands before you holding a heavy leather whip. This is the price of disobedience. Your master announces to the assembled slaves, his voice cold and hard. This is the fate of the runaway. Let this be a lesson to you all. The flogging is brutal. The whip rises and falls, each blow a line of fire across your back. But the physical pain is secondary to the profound humiliation of being beaten like an animal in front of your wife. In front of the community that you are trapped in. When it is over, you are cut down. Your back, a raw, bloody ruin. But the punishment is not finished. The master wants to ensure you will never run again. He wants to mark you permanently as a defiant and untrustworthy slave. He might choose to brand you. A small iron with his personal symbol is heated in a brazier until it glows red. 2 slaves hold you down, and the brand is pressed into the back of your hand or your forehead. The smell of your own burning flesh fills the air, and the pain is a new kind of agony. You will now carry the indelible mark of your master's ownership on your very skin for all to see, or he might choose another punishment, one prescribed in the great code for the sin of insolence. He might choose to have your ear cut off. It is a permanent, visible mutilation, a mark that screams your status to the world. It declares you to be damaged goods, a slave who has defied his master, a creature who cannot be trusted. This is the terrible price of your failed bid for freedom. You are thrown back into the slave quarters, your body broken, your skin branded or your body mutilated. You are now a living warning. The other slaves look at you with a mixture of pity and fear. You are what happens when a slave dares to dream. You are the proof that there is no escape. The hope that once sustained you. The hope of the law. The hope of one day being free is now completely extinguished. Cauterized by the hot iron of your master's wrath, you lie on your mat, your body a landscape of pain. And you understand the final, terrible truth of your condition. The law that is meant to protect you also owns you. The community around you is your jailer. Your master's power is absolute, and your own body is now a permanent testament to the crime of wanting to be free. There is no escape. There is no hope. There is only the long, slow, and miserable continuation of your life as a slave. You have been granted your freedom. A hollow, bitter prize bought with the loss of your children and your land. You have walked the path of the law, of patient endurance, and it has led you out of your master's house, a free man with nothing. But there was another path you could have taken. Let us turn back. Let us imagine that after your son was sold, the grief and the rage inside you did not settle into a quiet, hollow despair. Let us imagine that it hardened, that it crystallized into a single, sharp and dangerous resolve. You have already lost everything that mattered. Your land is gone. Your son is gone. Your wife is a fellow slave, a ghost who shares your misery but whom you cannot protect. You have nothing left to lose. The fear of your master's punishment is now less than the burning, all-consuming desire to be free. What if you chose not to wait for the law's slow, uncertain mercy? What if you decided to run? The decision is a secret fire you nurture in your heart. To speak of it would be madness. You know the law. You know that anyone who aids you will be put to death. This is a journey you must make alone. You begin to plan. It is an act of profound hope in a world that has given you none. You start to hoard your food, hiding a small piece of your barley cake each day, wrapping it in a piece of cloth and hiding it in a crack in the wall of the slave quarters. It is a pitifully small store of provisions, but it is a start. You become a student of your prison. You observe the routines of the household with a new, sharp intensity. You learn the patterns of the guards who watch the main gate. You note which part of the great compound wall is lowest, which corner is cast in the deepest shadow at night. You watch the moon, waiting for a moonless, overcast night that will give you the cover of absolute darkness. The escape is not a heroic, daring dash. It is a thing of silent, terrified stealth. On the chosen night, you wait until the household is deep in sleep. The only sound is the breathing of the other slaves around you. You retrieve your small bundle of food. You slip out of the slave quarters, your bare feet making no sound on the cool clay floor of the courtyard. Every shadow is an enemy. Every distant bark of a dog makes your heart leap into your throat. You reach the outer wall. It is high, built of sun-baked mud brick. You find the spot you had chosen, where a gnarled old tree grows close to the wall. You climb the tree, your hands and feet clumsy, your breath held tight in your chest from a high branch. You leap to the top of the wall. For a moment you lie there, panting, looking down at the dark. Sleeping city of Babylon. You are almost free. You lower yourself down the other side, dropping the last 10 feet into the dusty alley below. You have done it. You are outside your master's walls. You navigate the labyrinthine streets of the city, keeping to the shadows. Your goal is the great city gate, which you know is closed and guarded at night. But near the gate, the wall is older, more crumbled. You find a place where the bricks have fallen away. Creating a difficult but scalable path, you climb, your fingers and toes finding purchase in the crumbling brick. You reach the top of the Great Wall of Babylon itself. You look out at the dark, open country beyond, a vast expanse of freedom. You lower yourself down and you begin to run. A wild, desperate, and joyous sprint. For a day, you are free. You hide in the reed beds by the river. You travel through the fields at night. The feeling of being your own master, of your movements being dictated by your own will. So intoxicating it feels like a dream. But you are a marked man. Your absence was discovered at the morning muster. Your master, enraged at the loss of his property, has sent his guards out to hunt you. He has posted a notice with the public crier, offering the legal reward of 2 shekels of silver for your capture. Every farmer, every traveler you see is a potential bounty hunter, and your abutu, your slave's haircut, is a beacon that announces your status to all who see you. You are caught on the 3rd day. A farmer, seeing you hiding in his field, alerts the local patrol. You are surrounded. You have nowhere to run. You are bound, and you are dragged back to the city, back to the master you defied. The punishment is not a legal matter for the magistrate. It is a private matter for your master. You have not broken the king's law. You have stolen your master's property yourself, and he has the right to discipline his property as he sees fit. You are brought into the central courtyard. All the other slaves, including your wife, are forced to assemble to witness your punishment. This is not just for you, it is a lesson for them all. You are stripped and tied to a post. The overseer, the waklam, stands before you, holding a heavy leather whip. This is the price of disobedience. Your master announces to the assembled slaves, his voice cold and hard. This is the fate of the runaway. Let this be a lesson to you all. The flogging is brutal. The whip rises and falls, each blow a line of fire across your back. But the physical pain is secondary to the profound humiliation of being beaten like an animal in front of your wife. In front of the community that you are trapped in, When it is over, you are cut down, your back a raw. Bloody ruin! But the punishment is not finished. The master wants to ensure you will never run again. He wants to mark you permanently as a defiant and untrustworthy slave. He might choose to brand you. A small iron with his personal symbol is heated in a brazier until it glows red. 2 slaves hold you down, and the brand is pressed into the back of your hand or your forehead. The smell of your own burning flesh fills the air, and the pain is a new kind of agony. You will now carry the indelible mark of your master's ownership on your very skin for all to see. Or he might choose another punishment, one prescribed in the Great Code for the sin of insolence. He might choose to have your ear cut off. It is a permanent, visible mutilation, a mark that screams your status to the world. It declares you to be damaged goods, a slave who has defied his master, a creature who cannot be trusted. This is the terrible price of your failed bid for freedom. You are thrown back into the slave quarters, your body broken, your skin branded, or your body mutilated. You are now a living warning. The other slaves look at you with a mixture of pity and fear. You are what happens when a slave dares to dream. You are the proof that there is no escape, the hope that once sustained you, the hope of the law, the hope of one day being free, is now completely extinguished. Cauterized by the hot iron of your master's wrath, you lie on your mat, your body a landscape of pain, and you understand the final, terrible truth of your condition. The law that is meant to protect you also owns you. The community around you is your jailer. Your master's power is absolute, and your own body is now a permanent testament to the crime of wanting to be free. There is no escape. There is no hope. There is only the long, slow, and miserable continuation of your life as a slave. The years fall away like dust from a crumbling brick. The fire of your youth, whether it was the desperate hope for freedom or the hot rage of injustice, has long since burned down to a cool, gray ash. You are an old man now. You are still a slave. The 3-year term of your debt servitude is a distant, laughable memory, a legal fiction that was never honored. Your master died, and you, along with the household furniture and the goats in the pen, were passed on to his son. Just another piece of the inheritance. Your life has been a long, unbroken chain of service. Your body is a testament to your life. Your back is a permanent, stooped curve from a lifetime of bending over canals and grinding stones. Your hands are gnarled, the joints swollen and stiff, like the roots of an old tree. Your skin is a leather mask, cured by decades of the relentless Mesopotamian sun. You are a tool that has been worn down by a lifetime of use. You sit in the master's courtyard at the end of the day. The sun is setting, casting long, cool shadows across the baked earth. From here, over the high walls of the compound, you can see the top of it, the great ziggurat of Babylon. Etemenanke, the house of the foundation of heaven and earth. It is a man-made mountain of millions of mud bricks. Its great staircases climbing towards the heavens where the god Marduk lives. It is the center of your world, a symbol of the immense power of the gods and the kings, and as you look at it, you understand, with a clarity that is devoid of anger or bitterness, that you built it, not you personally. Perhaps, but your life, your labor. The bricks it is made of were fired in kilns, fueled by barley stalks from fields irrigated by the canals you dug. The immense surplus of food required to feed the thousands of state laborers who built it was grown on the backs of slaves like you. The wealth that allowed the king to adorn its high temple with gold and lapis. Lazuli was generated by the great economic machine that runs on the fuel of your misery, the magnificent, glittering, godlike civilization of Babylon is built upon a vast, invisible foundation of human suffering, and you are one of the stones. You watch the life of the city pass by outside the gates. You see the Awylum, the elites, the nobles, and high priests. Carried by in litters, they're fine, fringed robes brushing the dusty ground. You see the muscanum, the free commoners, the artisans and the shopkeepers, hurrying about their business. Their lives also hard, but their bodies their own. And then there is you, the wardom, the slave, the human property upon which the entire great pyramid of society rests. Historians will one day debate the exact nature of your world. Was it a true slave society, its economy utterly dependent on your labor, or was slavery just one form of hardship among many? But for you, the answer is simple. You look at your scarred hands, you feel the dull, permanent ache in your back. You remember the face of the son who was sold away from you. You know what you are. Your life has been one of service. You have ground the grain, hauled the water, dug the mud, and harvested the barley. You have stood silently in the corner while your masters feasted. You have endured the whip and the brand. You have contributed every ounce of your life's energy, every drop of your sweat, to the glory and the wealth of a civilization whose triumphs you could only ever witness from the shadows. You will die here, in your master's house. You will be buried in a simple pit in the slaves' section of the cemetery. With no name and no marker, your life will have passed, unrecorded, a single, anonymous drop of water in the great river of Babylonian history. You will leave no legacy. Your children do not know you. Your name is not your own. Your only monument is the great, towering ziggurat that pierces the evening sky, a structure you helped to build but could never enter. A testament to the gods of a city that was your home but never your own. You feel a profound, cosmic weariness. You are not angry. You are not sad. You are simply spent. You are a tool that is being put away at the end of a long day. You close your eyes, and in the shadow of the great ziggurat, you listen to the sounds of the city you built, and you wait for the final. Quiet peace that is the only freedom a slave like you will ever know. Cool down. And so, the old slave sits in the gathering dusk, his long, hard life of service coming to a close. Let the image of him, and the great, sun-baked city of Babylon, begin to fade. Let the shadows of the ziggurats and the memory of a life without freedom recede into the quiet halls of the past. His story, a story of an anonymous soul whose labor built a civilization, is over. Bring your thoughts back, gently, to the present, to the profound and simple reality of your own room. Feel the comfort that surrounds you, the softness of your bed, the quiet hum of the air. You are not a piece of property. You are not a tool in another man's hand. Your life, with all its own challenges and worries, is your own. Your body is your own. Your thoughts are your own. Let a feeling of quiet gratitude for this simple, fundamental freedom settle over you. The miseries of the past can serve to illuminate the peace of the present. The story of that life of toil can make your own rest feel all the more welcome, all the more deserved. Your own long day is over. There is no more labor required of you tonight. There are no masters to serve. You are free to let go, free to release the day, free to allow your mind to quiet, and your body to relax. Allow yourself to drift on the gentle tide of the night, towards the deep, peaceful, and restorative harbor of sleep.